Okay, now what we're going to talk about in the next slide here is a culmination of everything we kind of talked about in a graphical form. And here we go.
So essentially what we see here after the animation is done, dollar signs, there you go, is that when the boiler is initially commissioned or when it's tuned, the person doing the work will use a combustion analyzer and find the sweet spot over maybe 4 or 5 points from low to high fire, and we'll set the fuel-air ratio to where he or she believes it needs to be to maintain safe, clean combustion. But that's pretty much a snapshot in time, right? The person's there, we're watching it, we set it up, we leave it where it needs to be, but understanding that the linkage through time is going to wear, the person will probably leave some excess air in the combustion process to assure that we don't make unduly great amounts of carbon monoxide. So what we end up with is the blue curve. Now fuel's on the left and air is on the bottom. The blue curve is ultimately where we want it to be, but understanding that with time there's going to be slop and changes in the combustion equation, the person will leave some excess air in there. The difference between the optimum and where it's going to end up or where it's set up is opportunity for dollar savings in the form of reduced fuel consumption. So what we're trying to do by using the servos with the high resolution that they have and getting rid of the linkage and making sure everything's tight and follows the way we want it to be is eliminating that slop, getting rid of that margin between where we want it to be and where we have to leave it in the mechanical sense. So now we're going to talk a little bit about one solution from Honeywell, and we'll be addressing a few. But this is a real simple solution from Honeywell. It's called their control link system. And it was essentially designed to replace the linkage. The OEMs in the boiler world were really the first to see this. Honeywell worked with the OEMs, and they said essentially, we want something really inexpensive, real simple. We want to just get rid of all this crazy linkage that everyone battles with. We can offer all our customers now as a checkbox option a nice solution from the factory that just does what we want it to do, and it's relatively inexpensive. So that's how we're going to start here, and we'll work up from there.
Yep. As John said, Honeywell worked with a number of OEMs. Vertical markets that they are focusing on, and actually both FireEye and Honeywell range from hospitals to heavy industry to schools to industrial process. It really touches the gamut, and like I said in a couple slides previously, every boiler is like a snowflake. Every application is different, and you really need to look at it from an aspect of how am I running my boilers, and how are they operating my heat or my steam plant, and how can I make them better.
And this covers a lot of opportunity.
Yep, it does. As I mentioned again previously, we're going to be referencing the catalog here, and if you do have a catalog, the Honeywell control links are featured on page 39 and 40 of the catalog, and these are actual catalog cut sheets that have a brief description, features, and part numbers to be able to make your selection of parts and spare parts easier. To get a little more detail on what we just looked at there, the system is, as John said, is very simple. There's a wiring subbase, a controller, a number of actuators that can control everything from air to gas to oil to FGR, and then a display. And the real trick is getting them installed properly and getting them configured properly, which we have access points and we have contacts throughout the country that can help you with that.
And really what it consists of is, this is more of how the parts interact. So on the left-hand side,
and this is more inclusive of how a linkageless system integrates into a boiler, whether you could replace that blue box in the middle with a FireEye part or the Honeywell controller like we're talking about here.
Sure. So specific to the control links, Honeywell manufactures a relatively inexpensive color touch screen that can be used to not only monitor the control link's operation, but it can be used to configure it as well. Or if you wish to operate the system without a display, you can use your PC with some software and come in with an RS-45 link and commission the control links that way. We find, though, more often the benefit to the display is that it allows a lot more interaction with the controller. Many people like to have that there left all the time. That talks down to the controller. It's kind of the brains of the system, if you will, and it operates our actuators. In this picture, for example, flue gas recirculation, one for forced draft or combustion air, one for our natural gas and fuel oil. It interacts with your existing flame safeguard. So whether this is a FireEye system or Pyronics or Honeywell, whatever it happens to be, as long as it's a full function programmer, it will work and handshake properly with the Honeywell control links. On the right-hand side, of course, you see your traditional level controls. There could be any number of different safeties and limits in here. In this picture, we're showing Honeywell's integrated pressure control. It does your modulation, your high limit, and it does your operating control functions all in one piece. Essentially, the only thing to be careful of in the control links world is that the control links wants a 4 to 20 milliamp signal representative of demand. So where you have the old Honeywell Series 90 controller, we can either adapt that through an analog rescaling module to give us that 4 to 20 milliamp signal, or preferably you can replace it with a device like this, and it does everything in one neat kind of block. Now you'll.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add is John mentioned that the controller works in tandem with the flame safeguard. There is a product from FireEye and one from Honeywell that incorporates the flame safeguard into the controller as well.
Right.
So I just wanted to bring that up. If we talk about it, I don't want to get anybody confused.
Sure. In some cases, the flame safeguard's been retrofitted, so there's no sense in reinvesting in it. In other cases where it just makes more sense to just gut it, kind of start over, we can provide a solution that integrates the flame safeguard. Next thing we're going to talk about briefly is the Honeywell solution for your higher level applications, and I wish I had a picture of the internal of that, but I guess it's kind of slim. I doubt you'll be able to see it, but essentially the Delphi system is the opposite of the control links. This is designed with flame safeguard in it. It's got a Honeywell HC900, or they call it their ABC900. It does the parallel positioning internally. It's a much more powerful platform where we can do level control, draft control, a lot of other stuff that you might find in a common boiler of a little bit larger size. It's got a PC on the door, which we can use for trending as well as setup. It's packaged with a lot of accessories, whereas the control links you have to purchase the piece parts to put it together. This kind of comes out of the chute with a lot more with it. So for those applications where you might have a larger water tube boiler, you want to integrate some other control functions around the boiler, this is oftentimes a better solution.
Right, and it does come pre-packaged and panelized, so there is no field wiring. It comes ready to hang on a wall. For those of you that are familiar with Tritium, Honeywell owns Tritium, and all the graphics and the display was based on a JACE or the Tritium software. So that's easily integratable to an existing building automation system if you have one.
And that's a really good point, because quite often people want to see now that part of their plant. It's no longer just the comfort functions. They want to integrate the whole operation.
And again, this is a 2 cut sheets, 2 pages out of the catalog that we have here, explaining, again, going into detail with the description and part numbers on the Delphi system.